Today, we're opening up a case file. And based on the source material we're looking at, this is a forensic audit of what it claims is a multi-generational war on human fertility. So, let's examine the evidence they present.
Right off the bat, here's the central thesis of the source material. It's a heavy claim, for sure, and it's the foundation for everything we're about to look at. The core argument is brutally simple. What's happening to our bodies isn't an accident. It's a plan.
So let's start there. Section 1, the foundational claim. The source argues that what we're all experiencing isn't just pollution, an unfortunate side effect of making cool stuff. It's framed as a hostile act.
So the idea here is that all this hormonal chaos, the cratering infertility rates, it's not some random unfortunate byproduct of modern life. No, the source presents this as the intended result of a slow, methodical poisoning of our biological hardware. Okay, so if this is a war, then what are the weapons? Section 2 dives right into the chemical arsenal that the source claims is being deployed against us on a massive, massive scale.
The first weapon on the list is PFAS. Now, the key thing to understand here, the thing that makes them so incredibly dangerous, is that carbon-fluorine bond. It's one of the strongest bonds in chemistry. That means these chemicals, they just don't break down. Not in the environment and not in our bodies. They are designed literally at a molecular level to stick around forever. And here, you can really see the two-pronged attack the source describes. On one side, you've got the hormonal disruptors, the PFAS, these forever chemicals that are just scrambling our internal signals. And on the other, you have microplastics, tiny physical invaders causing direct inflammation and damage. And look where they're found. Everywhere. Cookware, food wrappers, you name it.
And just to get a sense of the scale of this problem, the source points to a 2024 study. Get this, 240,000 plastic particles in a single liter of bottled water. That's the stuff we drink to be healthy. It's a number that's almost impossible to even picture, and it really drives home how saturated our world is with this stuff. Which of course leads to the next question, who's responsible? This brings us to Section 3, the corporate cartel. The source doesn't just identify the weapons, it names the alleged arms dealers. The audit trail starts with one name, DuPont. The source points to them as Ground Zero, the company that first created and mass-marketed one of the most widespread forever chemicals our planet has ever known. Now this timeline, as it's laid out in the source material, it's just damning. It alleges that DuPont knew how toxic its chemicals were for decades. We're talking internal studies showing organ damage back in the 60s, then documenting birth defects in their own employees' kids in the 80s. And what happened next? Instead of stopping, they allegedly dumped millions of pounds of it into the environment. The critical point here is the claim of knowledge and intent.
But according to the source, the cartel doesn't stop with DuPont. The net gets way wider. It pulls in 3M, accused of its own decades-long cover-up with Scotchgard. Then it points to the consumer giants like Nestle and Coke as the primary delivery system for microplastics, and finally, the financial firms like BlackRock and Vanguard for supposedly funding the whole operation.
Okay, now we get to the core of the case. Section 4, the biological assault. How does this chemical arsenal actually attack human reproduction? Well, the source claims it's poisoning the very seed of life itself.
So first we need to understand a key piece of clinical evidence mentioned in the source, the anogenital distance, or AGD. Now this isn't some weird, obscure measurement. It's a real, scientifically recognized marker that tells you how much testosterone a male fetus was exposed to while developing. Think of it like a biological receipt for hormonal health in the womb.
And this is where it gets really chilling. The source highlights the work of Dr. Shanna Swan, whose research, it's claimed, proves that when a mother is exposed to chemicals called phthalates, the stuff that makes plastic flexible, it's directly linked to a shorter AGD in baby boys. The claim is astounding. These chemicals are literally blocking the male genetic code from fully playing out before a child even takes his first breath.
The source doesn't mince words. It uses this quote to sum it all up. It points to plummeting sperm counts, testosterone levels that have fallen off a cliff, and frames it as nothing less than a population-wide chemical castration.
And to back this up, the source points to a study from May 2024. The finding? Microplastics were found in 100% of the human testes that were tested. A total invasion of the very factory of male fertility. And just a few months before that, another study cited in the source found the exact same thing in the human placenta. 100% contamination. This suggests that the natural shield, the very barrier designed to protect a developing fetus, has been completely and totally breached.
So the indictment presents this as a two-front biological war. On one side, you have a physical breach of the placental barrier, an invasion of the womb itself. And on the other, a chemical assault on the female reproductive system, with forever chemicals supposedly building up in the very fluid where human eggs are supposed to develop.
All of this leads to the fifth and final section, and honestly, the most disturbing part of this entire indictment, the endgame. Why? Why would any of this be deliberate? What could possibly be the motive?
Well, the source lays out a chilling three-step plan. First, use chemicals to essentially flatten the biological differences between male and female. Second, this creates a population that is less vital and, crucially, less fertile. And the final step, a society that can no longer reproduce on its own becomes totally dependent on technology and the corporations that control it.
And this is what the source claims is the ultimate goal: total control. Because when the creation of life is no longer a natural act, but a commercial service that you have to buy, humanity's role is fundamentally changed. We're no longer creators, we're just consumers of our own species. A very grim conclusion to a very grim indictment. And that's where this forensic audit ends. The source presents a trail of evidence connecting corporate products to a species-level biological crisis, framing it all as an intentional act. And the final question it leaves us with is this: are we witnessing a massive conspiracy or just the most ruthless business plan in human history?